Final resting place of Marshall Major Taylor, who is a superstar athlete, author, and civil rights activist. Was born in near Indianapolis, Minnesota, Indianapolis, Indiana, 1876. He was the premier cycling sprint champion of the world champion, first African American world champion in any sport besides, I think he might have been one in boxing before that. And he was the Michael Jordan of the day. He was the man to be beat. He had to endure, lots of replete of prejudice in his life. When he was in Indianapolis, they actually outlawed him being able to race in Indianapolis because he was beating everybody, and so then he had to move to Massachusetts. Massachusetts was like Detroit back in that time period, the end of the 1800s, and where all the bicycling industry was located. He raced, he won, set world championships. After he retired, he sort of fell into financial distress and ended up dying as a pauper in Chicago in a YMCA. He was buried in a pauper's grave. The people in his industry that knew him basically got together and had his body exhumed and buried in this location. This is a historically African American cemetery.
Actually, the Schwinn family.
The Schwinn family.
Yeah.
But they didn't want because of the time, didn't
yeah.
want their name Schwinn be on there, so they made up a name, the Bicycling Racing Stars Association. And so, as I like to say, Major Taylor, you're finally buried. You're among friends.
So much trade, Peter.
So, again, this is a historically African American cemetery that is surrounded by affluent white communities. The only way that you could come into this cemetery as an African American to get buried here was on those trains. There was no other way to get in here. So you had to get on the train downtown, you had to come in on the train tracks. There was a train station over there where the funerals would take place, and then they come out here and bury you. You had to get back on the train, go back out on the train track. Couldn't go out on the roads or anything like that. Baseball was just in its infancy at the time when he was a superstar. And so, they would have velodromes. He did some velodrome racing. They would do 1 mile races, 2 miles, 3 miles. This is even before the Tour de France. He had probably some opportunities to get into the Tour de France, but he didn't do that because it didn't have a great reputation. Most of the Tour de France riders were drunks. They would ride all day long, and then they'd go drink all night, and then start it all over the next day. So it didn't have a great reputation when it first started out. So what I didn't say was that because of the prejudice that he had to endure in the United States, he had to go do most of his racing in Europe. And people in Europe, when they come here to the United States, they know Major Taylor. Many Americans don't know Major Taylor, but the Europeans do, because they recognize, historically, that he was one of their great athletes over there.
Another piece of context too, just to add to that, is that first of all, he was world champion in 1899. Now we're talking about just at the beginning of cars. Bicycles was the mode of transportation. Mm-hmm. That's why bicycles were such a major part, of everybody's life, and who could be the fastest on a bicycle. So that's just a little bit more context. Just bear in mind that was the reason for cycling to be what it was. It was the mode of transportation. It was the thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Nobody even saw cars coming.
Yeah, nobody even saw cars coming. You aren't even talking telephones yet.
Right.
So, as a matter of fact, I think electricity had just maybe even just barely gotten off the ground about that time. So
he had his nickname too.
Oh yeah.
So when he was a child, he grew up in a family with his father. I understand somebody told me his father was a religious man. He was like a minister or something like that, and didn't get all the approval from his father that he wanted to, and so at a certain point, he started to sort of move out of the household and try to have a living, having his own living. And so he went and basically hooked up with a family that had a bike shop, and sort of grew up with those kids, and he worked in the bike shop. And then he learned just everything about the bicycle, fell in love with the bicycle, could do everything on a bicycle, could do all kinds of tricks and stunts and whatnot on the bike. And so he used to draw people, as Dwayne was saying, the bicycle was like the thing in that day. You know, families would get bicycles, you would go out on bicycle rides on the weekends and whatnot. You might even transportation, because a bicycle was cheaper than having a horse and barn and all that sort of thing, and it was sort of a small, containable in an urban space. So at the bike shop that they were in, Major Taylor would stand out front like these people you see, you know, that are shaking the signs and stuff like that. And he'd do bike tricks out in front of the shop to draw people in and bring people into the store. And he got so good at it, somehow he got a military uniform, and he put on a uniform that had a lot of buttons and epaulets and all that sort of stuff, and would do his tricks. And so they started calling him the Major, and that's where he got the name Major Taylor, Marshall Major Taylor.
Yeah,
We've never had it on his birthday this big. When we do the summer, the spring ride, we have had this many people.
But then, we got to remember, it's always at the end of November, so who knows what the weather's going to throw down.